Okay, we're live, Dave. I'm
Want to
sorry, I
see if
thought you were watching me.
yeah. Well, I actually want to see if I get a notification that we're live because,
We are live now,
um,
both.
yes, I
I've
want to
just
see if I
had
get
one
a
come through.
notification because I
Oh, I see.
asked for a notification once upon a time, and
Mm.
I don't know if I even get one. So just going to have a look. So far, not, but there you go. So hopefully we are live. I will check this right now and make sure, so that I can also tag people and tag the group. Um, so let's have a look. Must say nothing popping up for me yet
Yeah,
on
I'm
my
not getting
phone.
anything showing live,
Mm.
but it's normally about
Hang on,
30
it's
seconds.
gone. It's gone to YouTube and not Facebook. One sec. There. Thank you for checking.
Yeah, well, I always do because I like to put out, just tag people. There we go. So now I can do a little at everyone or whatever it is these days where it asks you to, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's weird for me having previously had the handle on the back end and seeing what's going on. I don't have that so much anymore, but yes, we are live. So welcome to everyone who's joined us Sunday, 26th of October. I hope everyone's had a good week. I know we've got half term coming up, and some people do just appreciate having the reduction in activities, just a slower pace maybe. So I hope you have a good week, the week to come. So we have a few things that we need to talk about again. Just I don't think there's too much tonight, but we will run through it quickly. So the very first thing is this very big campaign that ends on the 27th of October, and I'm going to ask Michelle to make sure you know everything you need to know about it.
Right, so it's our Missing Voices, Missing Rights campaign, which is a postcard campaign uh, for children's voices to be able to get them to the Children's Commissioner. Now, the reason I said the last day to post is the 27th of October is so that they have a chance to get to me. And I know some people use second class stamps. So if you're running on the drag, as long as you use a first class stamp and maybe stick it in an envelope, because we all know postcards take longer in the post, you can stretch it a couple more days, but don't go past the 1st of November. That will be stretching it too far. So the 27th isn't a like fixed deadline, but it's a deadline if you're going to be using second class stamps to ensure that your postcard definitely goes in the batch that are going to be personally handed to the Children's Commissioner. So the Children's Commissioner has agreed to meet with a group of children for us to hand them over personally. So I've got just over 100 postcards received so far. So it'd be fantastic if we could at least double that number. So the on the link, these you can design your own postcard, or as you can see, there are 5 designs already there. You can have the blank ones, color them in yourself, or you can use the pre-printed colored ones. The address to send them is printed on the link, mainly because it's my real job's office number, office address, and I don't really want that trawled through Facebook, so that's why it's in the link rather than just on the normal group. So yeah, if people just get their children to fill them in, write what their views are on the bill, what they want the Children's Commissioner to hear, so that we can get them all together and get them across the Children's Commissioner and have their voices heard.
Yeah, and this is an important action because it basically finishes tomorrow. So please, if you could prioritize this with your children and get this done by tomorrow, that would be really, really good. I hope you're getting a good response so far, Michelle. Any update on that?
Yeah, well, I've got over 100 so far.
Oh, no, that's really good. So let's
Yeah.
hope we get many, many more this coming week. So thank you for that, Michelle, and I'm so appreciative of everything you do. Right. Um, Next up, we have Yes, so the new deputy leader has been announced. So it was, what's her name? What's the other one's name again? It was Bridget
Lucy
Phillipson
Powell.
versus Lucy Powell. That's her name.
That's the one.
And it's been an interesting one, hasn't it? Because there's been basically, I think Bridget Phillipson was probably a bit distracted by all of this in the last couple of weeks. And I think there is some knock-on effects. I mean, I've read a few interesting articles about this and about the impact on the party as well, or what. An interesting one, and cute graphic you got there, Kat.
The wonderful things you find
You got
on
anything
Twitter.
else we want to add about that?
Well, it's just the
Yeah.
possibility that the bill might have been delayed because of the excuse me, child, because of being distracted by the leadership contest and the fact the other two ministers have just been appointed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens next. And of course, we've got the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill that's going to be debated as well, and that could possibly impact report stage, is what we're wondering, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Michelle, do you have any insight on that, on whether the debate that's going to need to be held over the petition, your petition, which closed yesterday at 166 odd thousand signatures? Well done. Do you think
they
that
haven't they haven't released the date for the debate yet.
Yeah.
It's likely to be a Monday afternoon because that's when they do these debates. Monday afternoons 4:30. But they haven't yet come back to me with the date for our debate yet.
But do you think it's likely to impact report stage?
It really does depend. I actually reached out to a couple of peers to ask, and there doesn't seem to be anything written down for the particular circumstances we've got, which is obviously a debate requesting the withdrawal of a bill that's currently going through. So that there isn't any sort of written down rules of whether they have to ensure that it happens before, or if it can just be part of the normal sort of debate situation. So unfortunately, there's no hard and fast rules. So I did reach out to a few peers and ask them, and they inquired. And unfortunately, there's no written rules on it. So it will depend on the petitions committee.
Yeah, there was a titillating little piece shared by Rabbi Asher Grat on his Substack, which hinted at some back behind the scenes stuff around the bill, but there's no confirmation of that. It is speculation at this point, isn't it? That the
It is, but if you look at the House of Lords calendar, the earliest they could even insert anything now is after the 17th of November, which obviously
Right.
we thought the report stage would be earlier, the first day, than that. So at the moment, unless something gets removed, but it's unlikely because of the sort of things going through the House of Lords at the moment, it'd be incredibly controversial for them to sort of remove any of those dates. It looks really unlikely, but the good side of that means it's pushing it further and further, because if we're looking at those sort of dates, it's not going to get through this side of Christmas. It's going to end up having to be third reading after Christmas, and obviously the later it goes, the better
it
for
is
us.
for us. Yes.
Because we can start actually getting MPs to understand, and it's actually quite interesting. Recently, we've actually started to have MPs engaging in a different way with the bill as they're starting to actually read it. And thank you to all those groups who've been meeting with their MPs and making them read sections of the bill. And I know it's been frustrating for you discovering that actually they hadn't read it in the first place, but it is changing hearts and minds. And that's what we need at the moment. And if we get the debate at the right time, if those MPs' hearts and minds have been changed, then they will speak to those things, and hopefully we'll get more movement in the background.
Yeah, so we're not giving up hope yet. As I say, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, and I haven't sung yet. So it's so then we've also got some amendments still being added. Is that right? So you can go and take a look. I don't think there's anything so far in the amendments that impacts us.
Nothing's
No,
specific.
only a handful so far. And I think nothing. Well, there's only a handful so far. The only controversial ones really are Lord Nash's ones, but we always expect Lord Nash to put ones that we're going to be uncomfortable with. One is an interesting one about children not being able to have VPN options, which I know my own child would have a view on that, of like, well, why are you letting the people know where I live? Because with a VPN they can't track my location. So I can see the positives. It's to not get it, so they can't get around the Online Safety Act. But the negative bit is actually somebody who knows how to track the IP address. If you remove the VPN, actually they can literally track where your child is. So it's got positives and negatives there. But then I do think that, the child sex abuse material, that's a good bit for Lord Nash, which, occasionally comes up with a good idea, but the VPN one, not necessarily as good as he thinks.
Yeah.
But it's probably a time now to start thinking about the amendments that were discussed at the committee stage that you actually thought would have been useful. Because remember, they get withdrawn not because we're really withdrawing them. They get withdrawn because they have the debate and the discussion, and then they can tweak them to bring back for report stage. If actually it looks like there might be a chance some of it will get accepted. Some of them, obviously, at the committee stage, it becomes very obvious no one's accepting them in any shape or format. It's not worth bringing them back for a vote. But some of them, once through the debates in the committee stage, they'll have been able to be fine tweaked. So if something you're thinking, well, do you know what? Actually, I would like to see that back. Go back, have a look on Hansard, have a look and see which peers spoke to that. Write to those peers and say, I thought that was a really good amendment. Can you bring it back at report stage? You can look on the publication bits and you can find all the ones that were proposed before, and they'll have the list of who the peer was and who the peers were that supported it. So any ones you were thinking, do you know what? I really would like that in the bill. Write to the peers and just tell them that you thought it was a really good idea, and can they please bring it back?
And we're finding that there's been the argument about the digital ID and linking it to the consistent identifier in the Children's Wellbeing Bill, which will mean that children don't have a choice if it passes, be tracked, and probably right into their adulthood as well with this current trend as we see it. And that's really resonating with a lot of people. So if you are still talking to people about the bill, and they have arguing against that where they don't think it's a problem, then this is something to raise with them as well, and to show them in the bill. So definitely useful. Yeah, there's so we're going on here to some questions in Parliament.
Well, it's related to what you were talking about, because these are things that people can bring up with their MPs.
So have they assessed the risk of using this number, and whether they will publish their assessment of the ability of the NHS to issue new NHS numbers in bulk following reports of NHS numbers being stolen following a cyber attack in June 2024. And Baroness Mirren, let's see what she said. So she said it hasn't specified the NHS numbers and SUI, but that's where the hint is that they would use that.
Well, it's more than a hint, because they actually said in the House of Lords committee stage that was the intention. So this obviously there's now been kickback because everyone's been kicking back against that now that we know that's the intention. But it was in the House of Lords committee stage that they did state that was the intention to use the NHS number and talk about the pilots. But maybe those pilots aren't going too well. So maybe that's why they're trying to pivot, because it's not specified in the face of the bill. It just says consistent identifier, and then the Secretary of State to say later. But they had.
Imagine if you're part of the pilot and they're only just considering the risk at the moment. They're not, you. What if you're impacted by some negative thing that happens while you're in the pilot? Have they even asked these people if they're prepared to be part of it?
But we already know from the FOIs that they haven't done. They haven't included clause 4, which is this bit, in their data impact assessment.
Yep.
They apparently are going to consider it at regulation stage. They have now apparently allegedly got a draft policy, but they haven't included clause 4, which actually is probably one of the biggest bits about data, because apparently they can leave that risk assessment and impact assessment until they bring the regulations out. They don't even need to consider it at this point.
Yeah, and
Which,
it's not like they're asking independent people to do the risk assessments. They're often just getting it's all in house. So of course they're going to poo-poo any possible risk. But unfortunately, the track record on data being kept safe is not very good. And
well,
you know,
government
that can be
and
pointed to.
education providers are consistently the worst for data breaches when you look at the ICO's risk assessments
Yes.
and their figures. It's
Yes, there was
consistently
an interesting.
government and education.
Well, there was an interesting question raised in in PM's questions, wasn't there? It happened to be my cousin, who's an MP for I think South Cotswolds or whatever Lib Dem, and she was saying how they couldn't even keep her Prime Minister's question safe
Oh
because
yes,
it
the
was
transparent
photographed.
folder.
It was photographed in a transparent folder, and so that was kind of. It was good that that conversation came up, and then obviously Keir Starmer is as smooth and slimy as an eel, in terms of his responses. But anyway, he kind of slides off of it and dismisses it. But anyway, so that was a bit of fun this week. Yeah. So then we've got another question here about what steps the Secretary of State plans to take to protect the data of home educated children in the context of the provisions in the bill. And they keep saying that they're aware of the importance of protecting personal data, that these laws put in place robust restrictions on data collection, storage, and sharing. But we've all seen how well that's worked so far, haven't we? Talk is cheap, as they say. I think most of us don't really believe our data is safe. I think we all believe that it's at risk because of the track record of data leaks and so on.
And
Very
again,
worrying.
in guidance later on, we'll explain how you need to balance safeguarding and educational support purposes with individual rights to privacy. And I find the bit of educational support purposes interesting with regards to right to privacy, because that seems outside the safeguarding remit that they're supposed to be making. So it's gone wider now. It's not just balancing safeguarding, which we all agree safeguarding needs priority, but also educational support. I don't understand how educational support needs to be balanced against an individual's right to privacy, because surely if you're wanting the support and asking for it, you're consenting. So there wouldn't need to be a balancing act if you're consenting to it. But this implies that we're not even going to be allowed to have choice around supports being given to us. It's some interesting way they've worded it.
Yeah, and I think I think we're right to be concerned. Also even with the people that would have access to the data, if with a consistent identifier as well, it's the police, it's social workers, it's education, it's quite a lot of people.
And the restricted
just
list
having
isn't that
seen how some
restricted
local authorities,
because regulations allow the Secretary of State to expand it, so it's not even restricted really, because Secretary of State can expand it.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's this assumption that every person who works like in a local authority or the NHS, that they all have pure motives, that they all are good actors. And unfortunately, we have seen, and there are families who have experienced personally that this is not the case. And as long as the government does not recognize that there are people within with the ranks of these people that they say will have access to our data, that they are fallible and they can mess up or they can have other motivations, as long as they don't recognize that, it's very, very difficult, because it leaves people feeling helpless and hopeless because they don't feel like anyone's got their back. Where's the protection for people in this? I think there's even consultations on the ICO. I think we were going to mention that, or that's on the Substack anyway. There's other sort of consultations going on, and we have to be aware of all of these things because they all kind of link together. So anyways, let's see another question here. So Liam Conlon met with parents from his constituency who raised questions about duties on parents and providers to report details. We know that previously it was fairly clear that they weren't willing to, basically everything was going to be under their remit, wasn't it, Michelle? It wasn't like if you were home educated, anything you did was going to be up for, have to be included. Am I right?
Yes, but they haven't. The thing is, Josh's answer doesn't make sense, because in the House of Lords, Lord Crisp had directly asked, well, can we rule out, and he goes, can we rule out socialism? But then obviously Josh is appearing to say different to what Baroness Smith responded to Lord Crisp. So are the government not even on the same page now about what they want? So then we have to go to what the wording of the bill is, and the wording of the bill at the moment is
everything,
factoring
everything. And this one says non-educational activities. Now, when you're home educator, there's no such thing as a non-educational activity. Am I right? Everything, we consider everything educational. So it's kind of like they do not know what they're talking about. They don't understand home education at all, and they don't understand, like it's the discriminatory nature of it as well. Because if we're looking at activities that might be considered non-educational because they're out of school hours, or something like clubs and sports activities, if we're looking at those, so I'm actually forgetting where I was going with that. Where was I going with that, Michelle? Tell me now. Oh yes,
probably just all the clubs and the providers having to know and everything, and all the contracts.
Yeah. So it's just those should not fall under the remit of the register, because they are not school hours. So children should be free to do what they want to do, regardless of whether they're in school or home educated outside of those hours. That's where I was going with it. It should not count.
My biggest worry, though, is none of that. My worry is how he starts off. England is an international outlier by not requiring the registration of electively home educated children. So all these reasons they've been telling us about why they want the register, they've made that up. Actually, we're being a sheep to the rest of the world. Rather than accepting actually with a gold standard of home education across the world, we're going, no, we're going to be a little sheep. Oh, everywhere else, we're going to copy it. But not based on evidence, not based on there being an issue with how home educators in England and Wales are doing home education, just because, but we're doing it differently.
We're an outlier. We're not fitting in. We want to conform.
And that's my biggest worry about that statement. Of all the reasons to want to register, it shouldn't be, well, everyone else is doing it, so we need to as well.
Yes. And I actually thought exactly the same as you, Michelle. I thought that actually what we need to respond to Liam Conlon is to say to him, look, why don't we challenge that and say, it's not about being an outlier, we're a leader.
Absolutely.
Why can't we be a leader in doing things differently, in showing that we actually trust our citizens?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Do we want to talk about the breakfast clubs, or shall we skip it? Depends.
They've been harping on about that again, so let's just give it a quick mention. The big story these days is they've got all the supermarkets helping them now, because guess what? With 60 pence per child, children were going hungry, and there was a whole lot of articles about children going hungry, not getting enough food. So now, instead of them saying, okay, we need to look at this and see what we can fund or improve this breakfast, now we are going to rely on the goodwill of supermarket chains to make up the difference. And the thing is that if those supermarket chains, if something starts going wrong, they may pull out of that deal. It's not a sustainable model, I think, in the long term. And I think it also shows the weakness of the program in the first place, that they've only belatedly, they launched the breakfast clubs, big song and dance, but now they have to rush to the supermarket chains to go and ask them to help. So it's just a little desperate to me. Okay, anything else about that, Michelle? We'll move on.
No, I just love the fact that they keep every time roll out the same stock photo where they're not even given real food. They appear to be eating wood.
Play food.
That seems to be the only one they've got.
Yeah, the propaganda machine. I think I did make a comment on either DFE or something about this, just saying like, that, there's 90 million pounds that's going on this propaganda promotion, they call it, promoting. Why do they need that much money? If it was such a good thing, they wouldn't need to advertise it. Am I right? If it was such a good thing, news would spread like wildfire. People
Ye-
would know all about it. But the fact that they're having to push it and keep writing the scripting, the narrative, is to me what it shows you just how desperate they are, and they're running out of ideas. And so now they've had to try and get the supermarket chains to bail them out.
Yeah, this particular press release bit they did is quite a good lesson in propaganda and trying to pick out the slogans and everything else that they've snuck
Best
in there.
start in life.
Well, yeah, they're rebranding the breakfast clubs just from free breakfast clubs to best start in life breakfast clubs.
Yes, because
So-
parents can't offer a best start in life, apparently.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, it just make me
Yeah.
quite mad. Okay.
And
Anyway.
it's interesting they've got yogurt in there because apparently today they've said they're going to brand yogurt as a junk food. So they even can't make their mind up of what they had classed healthy and not healthy,
Oh,
because
dear.
that's a story that's come out today that yogurt's going
Oh.
on that list of,
Yeah.
of junk
There's
foods.
been so much criticism, and they are honestly just having they are treading water on this one.
Mhm.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, if
Okay.
keep treading
Mo-
any harder, they're going to get tired. So
Yeah. I don't know if people have seen this from this morning, actually, from
Yes.
The Independent.
yeah, so I did have a quick look at it, and it seems a bit of a mixed bag. It's
Mm.
kind of like the author doesn't quite know what they want to say. They do pull in a lot of American stuff, which is not relevant in this country at all, to my mind.
Yeah, I was quite surprised they hadn't contacted anyone, particularly in the UK, about it. None of the organisations or anything.
No, and in the UK, reasons for home educating are vastly different to what you'll find in the US. You may get some people, a small number, that may use some of these reasons, but it's very, very different. And actually, I think primarily the reason people home educate in this country is not to keep their children away from this kind of thoughts or talk of things that they disagree with or anything like that. It's mostly to do with school and problems in the school system that are failing the children. Most parents want their children to go to school and be happy and to thrive. They don't consider home educating until things start going wrong, and they don't really focus on that enough, I don't think. And I just having a look at it, I thought this article, it's a bit frustrating because you got it doesn't go properly ask the right questions, I think, and of the right people. So yeah, it's they talk about there's a growing anti-school movement that sometimes goes under the hashtag unschooled. Like what?
Well, that just
Where
shows
on
that
earth
they
did they get that one from?
to anyone
As
who
if
understands what unschooling is.
yeah, it's led by young people who believe schools are bad for their mental health, failing to teach the right skills, and are hotbeds of bullying and social exclusion. I've never
I've never heard it
heard
described that way before, and it's
uns-
certainly not my
no,
understanding of it.
no.
Yeah.
No, I don't know who
But-
she's following and looking at. It's not people I've ever heard about, and it's probably American. And it's just like, come on, just you're a journalist, do your job.
Yeah.
And
It's a
the
very
bit
long
about
read.
since
So.
the vaccination, it doesn't affect if a child goes to school or not here. I know in certain countries you can't
Yeah.
send your child to school if they're not had vaccinations. Doesn't apply here. So throwing that in doesn't make sense because it's not applicable here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I found it a very unsatisfactory article. Just put it that way. It's not negative in the full sense of the word, but it's just kind of it just throws out what other people say. This is what this one says, that one says, whatever. It's not really.
Mm.
So I mean, if anyone feels like writing to the Independent and actually just adding some insights on that, I think that could be valuable. And yeah, maybe just encourage them to do their research a little better on the UK based home education. Okie dokie, what's next then? Okay, this goes back to the VAT on private schooling. that a lot of parents started home educating because of not being able to send their children to private school anymore due to the VAT. And I think that is
The
true for
rise
some, but
of
yeah,
online
I just,
schooling, really, rather
yes, it
than
is. It
strictly
is.
home ed, but it's
Yes, and
more
expensive
to be
online
aware of.
schooling. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But some of
Um,
that I know has come from, well, I've personally spoken to parents who no longer could afford the fees and took their children out
Yep.
and had contacted local authority wanting a state school place for their child and were told by the local authority there aren't any, and given a list of online schools and said, but this is cheaper than the fees you were paying, so you could enroll
Ah.
them in one of these. So
yeah,
that there's actually even a sort of move to encourage them because they haven't got the state school places. You can't afford over there, but this is cheaper than those fees are. And then you still get the quality of education you want for your child because we haven't got the state school places available. And then the other ones, it's obviously because when they see class sizes and things like that, it just won't work for their child. But they can't
yeah.
afford the higher fees,
So the
and all of
online
these are
schools are
quite
saying
expensive.
the online schools are saying we've seen a big surge in numbers.
Mm.
Um, so I must say I haven't found many of those people in the home educating groups that I'm on. Have you come across many who've come out of the private schools?
Say that I have, but
Can't say I've come across many.
we've been
I
busy.
think that a lot of people who go straight into online schooling, they don't go and look for the community. They're just trying
Yeah,
to
no,
do
absolutely. And I
something
know
differently.
because
Yeah,
I've done some bits working quite closely with some of the people from the education, not taxation. And so obviously it is quite early on when they're
mm,
considering it. They'll ask thing, and then people give recommendations of the different online schools they've then taken. So yes, they quite often miss out joining the community to explore
yeah,
because they almost pivot straight away.
yeah, 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 yeah. I came across a. This is a little bit off topic, but I came across somebody on one of the big home ed groups today where this person is just they registered their child and was asking the group, okay, so now what do I do? Do I need
Mm.
to get or ask the LA what I need to do? Or they can tell me what to do. And it was really puzzling to me why people would start home educating without doing that research first,
Mm.
or going and finding out first. It's really strange to me. It's just puzzling because I think it is a big deal, home education, and I think that the responsible thing to do is to go and get all that information before you actually, there are sometimes when people don't have
Mm.
a choice, they deregister like as an emergency measure, but this wasn't the case in this particular
Yeah.
one, and it's just an odd thing to me because I remember when I started home educating so many years ago, is that I went and met people, spoke to people, read as many books as I could on the subject, and investigated because those days long ago, you would look at curriculum, which I went and investigated, and we selected one that we thought worked for us. We didn't end up staying with it, but it's just interesting that like it's a very important decision, and I think people need to make sure that they do their research before, if possible. So anyway, and because it also reflects on the community. If you haven't done that research and the local authority comes along, makes contact with you, and you haven't thought out much what you want to do. So just a slight little tangent there. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Next is yeah. So couldn't I don't know much about this. Do you, Michelle?
Yeah, this is the send white paper we're expecting in
Mm.
the autumn. Conveniently, which was due sort of the time during the deputy leader sort of contest. Obviously, there's been a lot of backlash because everything they were leaking to see how it would go with the public was going down. Will lead balloons go down slower than this was going down? And so they've kicked it in the long grass after because they had the send committee report, education committee report that was highly critical of how the send system is currently working. Not that the law is bad, but how LAs are not implementing it the way they should and what needs to be put in place. Obviously, there was the SEND debate as well, and it was really, really well attended to the point that no one else could fit in the room. Some MPs even had to stand outside the room because they couldn't fit everyone in to speak on it. So I think they realised that what they were planning may not help them. So they've kicked it to spring next year. So we know no more. They're claiming they'll do a bit of consultation and things like that to try and get it right. But yeah, it's been kicked to the spring. So we're not getting a SEND white paper now, which was when we were expecting it. It's kicked back to the spring.
Yeah. I also I know the school fund debate is coming up, I think, this week. Tomorrow, so that's one to watch as well. I don't know if it's on our list to discuss tonight, but just something to mention. You may want to go and watch it because it does have bearing on our own fight in terms of parental rights, parental choice, the choice of parents to be able to take their children out of school for special holidays, or if somebody, like if their grandparent has passed away, or they want to go on an international trip. So this is a very, very important one. And a lot of people deregister to home educate over this issue of the school fine. So it needs, because people shouldn't feel pushed to do that either. So please keep an eye on that tomorrow. Okay, so okay, what's this? Oh, so this is about the digital ID, the change.org petition.
Yeah,
Is it
the one from Reclaim Rights for Children?
Yeah, so Reclaim Rights for Children. I'm sure the link is going to pop up in the comments underneath here at some point. And this is a very important, it is now the next petition to focus on. So please share that in your networks beyond home education, because this one focuses particularly on the unique, consistent identifier for children. So the digital ID for children and so on. So
it's just the link
important.
that's in the image there. That's all.
Okay, and we've had a lot of experts sign this this as well. So do go and look it up, and yes, I think that's been shared now. So do go and look this up, go and share it, make sure you're signing it, and anyone who cares about their role as a parent and protecting their child and their child's data. Thank you, Kat. Okay, and then there's
we've
this,
got our last thing here.
Yeah, this is that consultation, the ICO consultation. And I think this is quite an important one because there's always this shifting of the goalposts and things like that that we find that will impact us. So if you look at the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, which wants to lower the threshold for sharing data without consent, this can play into the ICO, because the ICO is basically the watchdog, isn't it, Michelle? So
It
basically,
is.
yeah. You their role is basically to police and keep an eye on when organizations are sharing data incorrectly or breaching data, sharing GDPR and so on. So if the law changes, then that means the ICOs, the guidelines or whatever they will use to guide them, is going to be impacted as well. So I don't know if you've got anything more to add on that, Michelle.
No, it's just the deadline's the 30th. And the reason it's so important for us at the moment is because obviously the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill does change the climate for children's data massively. And it's all very well saying, oh, you've got all the protections in GDPR, but that relies on if there's a legal basis for them to do something, GDPR allows them to. So
Yes, exactly.
GDPR doesn't really help you if they write into law that they're allowed to do it, because
yes,
then they're allowed to do it.
There.
GDPR supports it.
Yeah,
And
it says it explains the lawful basis of recognized legitimate interest. So if it is made lawful through the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, then we can't challenge it through the ICO.
Yeah, and then obviously the ICO is consulting on the draft guidance on what classes as a legitimate interest, because people can often do something if they can identify the legitimate interest behind it, which is why it's so important that we respond to this so that they don't change the goalposts substantially.
please do take a look at that if because this is all tied in to all the just data. Yeah, just it's going to impact us. So please do go and have a look. And I think that's pretty much everything. Is there anything else we can think of? Oh, I can't hear you, Kat.
Nope, the mute button didn't work.
Mm.
A message from Alison that she's managed to get the Stop the Bill card back, and she just wants to send thank you to everyone that managed to help out with that.
Okay, and we will, if we can find opportunities to use it for anything else, I'm sure we will. Let's hope we get to use it for something still. Yeah.
And
but
the
no,
only
that's
only
pretty
other
much
thing is
everything.
the protest on the 17th of January, which obviously if you go on the Stop the Bills page, you can go onto the event link. If people are interested in being stewards or want to sponsor the event or anything, there's the email to make contact with on that.
Wonderful, that's great. I just wanted to ask about the live. We did a live on TikTok on Friday night. Kat, is any of that going to be shared elsewhere for people who weren't able to watch it?
I don't know. I didn't have that,
Mm.
and Amy is a little busy at the moment. But,
Yes, okay. It might be
it depends
something
because there was some issues with the
we can.
sounds. Because I think just because
Yeah,
it was busy on a Friday.
Yeah,
But
yeah, but we
we'll
had
see
good.
what
We
we
had
can
a
do.
good. We had a good time. We had a good conversation about the bill, and there may be some stuff that we can share at some point from that.
Yeah.
I don't quite know how TikTok works and recordings and all of that. So,
And I really
we will
don't
have a
know
look.
to the point we can get on.
Yeah, we missed
Even
you,
with
Michelle.
advice.
I thought it explained to you that you would need the app on your phone. That's what all the confusion was. But yeah,
Yeah. We're sorry we did miss you,
Sorry.
Michelle.
we did.
Anyway, I think that's all from us tonight. Take care and
Yep.
have a good week, as I said, and hopefully, as we adjust now to the clock change, I hope that's not too difficult for anyone.
It's going to be brutal, isn't it?
Okay.
Right.
Good night from us all then.
Good night.